Upbeat, slightly dramatic music starts and fades into the background. Have you ever stopped to think about what fuels our world's wars? For centuries, one answer has dominated: oil. But what if that changed? What if we powered our nations with the sun, the wind, and the earth itself? Welcome to the Clean Energy Journey YouTube channel, where science meets sustainability. We share how green energy will save our planet in the future. Today, we're asking a monumental question. Can clean energy prevent future wars? It's a question that cuts to the heart of global security. Wars throughout history have been brutally intertwined with the competition for resources, especially the oil and gas that are the lifeblood of modern economies and militaries. This makes energy a highly strategic commodity, one worth fighting and dying for. So, as we stand on the cusp of a global transition to clean and renewable energy sources, we must consider the consequences. Will this shift usher in an era of unprecedented peace, or will it simply change the resources that nations battle over? Let's dive in. To understand the future, we first need to look at the past. The connection between energy and war is undeniable. During World War II, oil was the fuel of victory. The Allied and Axis powers relentlessly competed for control of oil fields in the Middle East and the Caucasus. Japan's infamous attack on Pearl Harbor wasn't just a military strike. It was a desperate response to U.S. oil embargoes that threatened to cripple its war machine. Fast forward a few decades, and the Middle East, with its vast oil reserves, became a constant hotbed of conflict. The Gulf Wars and the persistent tensions surrounding the Strait of Hormuz, critical choke point for global oil shipping, are modern testaments to this deadly link. Even the Cold War, a conflict defined by ideology, was deeply influenced by energy. The Soviet Union skillfully leveraged its oil and gas supplies to exert political pressure on Europe, while the United States invested heavily in securing global oil routes to maintain its superpower status. The analysis is clear. Fossil fuels have historically served as both a prized resource and a potent weapon, shaping the geopolitical strategies of nations for over a century. This history of conflict is the very reason the promise of clean energy feels so revolutionary. So, how exactly could a switch to renewables lead to a more peaceful world? The primary reason lies in the decentralized nature of clean energy. Unlike oil and gas, which are concentrated in specific geographic locations and transported through vulnerable pipelines and shipping lanes, renewable sources are widely distributed. Solar panels can be installed on rooftops, wind farms can be built along coastlines, and small-scale hydro projects can be implemented in local communities. This decentralization makes them incredibly difficult for any single nation or entity to monopolize. It fundamentally changes the game. As countries generate more of their own energy from these domestic sources, their dependence on politically volatile, oil-rich regions could dramatically decrease. This could significantly lower the geopolitical temperature, reducing the incentive for military intervention in places like the Middle East. This move towards energy independence is a game changer. When nations can produce most of their own electricity, they have fewer reasons to engage in conflicts driven by a desperate need for external energy supplies. This could level the global playing field, granting smaller nations greater autonomy and freeing them from the geopolitical chess moves of larger powers. However, the transition to clean energy is not a simple path to utopia. While it may solve old problems, it introduces a host of new risks and challenges that could easily spark fresh conflicts. The technologies that power our green future wind turbines, solar panels, and electric vehicle batteries are themselves dependent on specific resources. We're talking about rare earth minerals and lithium. The problem is, these materials are highly concentrated in a handful of countries. China, for instance, dominates the rare earth market, while Chile and the Democratic Republic of Congo hold vast reserves of lithium. This creates a new geopolitical map. where rivalries could emerge over access to these critical minerals, mirroring the oil conflicts of the past. Furthermore, the very infrastructure of renewable energy presents a new type of vulnerability. Modern energy systems rely on interconnected digital grids and sophisticated smart infrastructure. While this allows for efficiency and optimization, it also makes them prime targets for unlike an oil field which requires physical force to disable, a nation's power grid could be crippled with a few lines of code, without a single missile ever being fired. This digital battlefield is a new frontier for warfare. Then there's the issue of technology inequality. Wealthier nations are currently leading the charge in developing and deploying clean energy technology. If they hoard this knowledge and dominate the manufacturing, poorer nations could be left behind, struggling to access the tools for their own energy transition. This could create new forms of dependency and tension, where the world is divided not by oil but by access to green tech. This brings us to a critical crossroads. Will the future of energy be defined by global cooperation or fierce competition? The path we choose will determine whether clean energy becomes a force for peace or a catalyst for new conflicts. There are encouraging signs of international partnerships forming to navigate these challenges. Shared projects like the International Solar Alliance, which aims to bring solar energy to developing nations, or the European Union's efforts to create an integrated energy market, show that cooperation can create mutual benefits and reduce the risk of conflict. These initiatives are built on the idea that a shared energy future is a more secure one. To prevent the rise of new energy wars, this spirit of cooperation must be nurtured. Global agreements on resource sharing, technology transfer, and the establishment of fair and resilient supply chains will be absolutely essential. If countries instead choose to hoard clean technologies and use their mineral wealth as a geopolitical weapon, competition will undoubtedly intensify. This is where global organizations have a vital role to play. Institutions like the United Nations, NATO, and the EU can help set international standards, mediate disputes over resources, and coordinate security for critical energy infrastructure. Their guidance can help ensure that the renewable energy transition is a managed process that promotes peace rather than division. We are already seeing real-world case studies that highlight these diverging paths. Look at Europe in the wake of the Russia-Ukraine war. Faced with the weaponization of natural gas, European nations dramatically accelerated their transition to renewable energy, not just for environmental reasons, but as a matter of national security. This is a powerful example of how a geopolitical shock can force a strategic pivot toward clean energy independence. Meanwhile, in Africa, a continent with immense renewable potential, countries like Kenya are becoming leaders in geothermal and solar power. This growth could empower the continent both economically and politically, fundamentally shifting the global balance of power. However, it also risks attracting the interest of external powers seeking to gain influence, potentially creating new spheres of competition. Then there's Asia, where a dynamic race in solar and wind energy is underway. China has positioned itself as the world's largest investor in renewables, dominating the production of solar panels. At the same time, nations like India and Japan are racing to catch up, investing billions in their own green energy sectors. This technological leadership race could go one of two ways. It could foster healthy competition and cooperation, driving innovation for all, or it could devolve into a bitter rivalry for market and technological dominance. So, what is the future outlook? Will clean energy bring peace or new conflicts? The truth is, both scenarios are plausible, and the outcome depends entirely on the choices humanity makes today. In the optimistic scenario, renewable technologies are shared widely and equitably. Nations achieve greater energy independence, which reduces the primary incentives for resource wars. Shared power grids and international partnerships create a web of interdependence that promotes global stability and cooperation. It's a future where energy is a tool for connection, not conflict. However, the pessimistic scenario is equally possible. In this future, struggles over rare earth minerals escalate into full-blown trade wars or even military confrontations. Technological dominance becomes the new measure of global power, creating a deep divide between the tech haves and have-nots. Cyber vulnerabilities are exploited, leading to a new era of digital warfare that targets critical energy infrastructure. In this world, the energy wars don't end, they simply evolve, fought with different weapons over different resources. To steer toward the optimistic future, we must act decisively. We need to build fair, transparent, and resilient supply chains for critical minerals. We must strengthen international law to govern resource access and prevent exploitation. We need to invest heavily in global cybersecurity to protect our increasingly digital energy grids. And most importantly, we must promote the equitable access to clean technology, ensuring that the benefits of the green transition are shared by all nations, not just a privileged few. In conclusion, the shift to clean energy is far more than just an environmental solution. It is a profound issue of global security and peace. Transitioning away from fossil fuels has the potential to dismantle the old world order, where wars were fought over black gold, buried beneath the sand. It may reduce the traditional conflicts that have defined the last century, but we must be vigilant and prepare for the new risks that lie ahead. The fight for energy isn't going away, it's just changing form. Now, we want to hear from you. Do you believe clean energy will truly bring peace to our world, or are we underestimating the future tensions that lie in wait? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this exploration insightful, please give this video a like. And do you forget to subscribe to Clean Energy Journey to continue our global conversation on the intersection of energy, security, and peace. Thanks for watching.